Welcome back to the Mulberry Book Drop. Hey, Bethany.
Hi, Sarah.
How you doing? How you been?
I'm fantastic.
Me asking like I haven't seen you, every day.
I know, and we've only spent the whole morning together, so...
I know. Dreams come true.
Yes.
What you been up to? What's been happening?
Just, enjoying fall. It's my favorite time of year.
Same.
So I'm loving that the temperature's finally starting to go down. The moon has been incredible in the mornings.
It has.
I did finish swimming in my pool. It's finally cold enough, so I guess I'm back to running now. So I've been staring at the sky at night. In the morning.
In the morning.
Sorry, the time change.
Which is our night. It's our night, your morning.
We're both so off still. I don't know why this time change really got me this time.
Same. Y'all have been in bed 8:30?
Yeah. People say oh, my kid can't handle it. And I'm like, I can't handle it.
That's true. Oh my goodness. We've had some really fun events lately. Last month we finished with Bookoween and we had the Harvest Festival. And I don't know if it's where we are placed, our booth is at the Harvest Festival, but this year just seemed like there were so many more people. And it was so cool. I don't even remember how many books we gave out, but I feel like it was over 750, I want to say.
That's so cool.
It is. And it's so fun. I love seeing our families, of course, every day at the library, but seeing them outside the library, it's just a little extra special. Mm-hmm. And you kind of feel a little famous. I'm not going to lie.
Sometimes we only get to know one parent,
right,
or a grandparent,
yeah,
or even sometimes an older sibling or a babysitter. So we don't always know the whole family, and I think that's why I love those big events, because a lot of times the whole family's there.
Yeah,
and so it's really exciting to see our kids with their whole crew.
Yeah,
and then
or when people come into the library separately.
Yeah,
and then you see them and you're like, you know each other, and they're like, yeah, we're married, and I'm like, whoa, what? Mind blown.
Yeah,
I love those moments. They're just extra special, and I don't know, everyone's just become family and friends to us too, and I love that. I'm getting sentimental.
That's okay. You're allowed.
Thanks. I do my best. So why don't we just jump into what we're doing today? Okay, so this episode is all about rereads, which that both Bethany and I do. So Bethany, why do you reread books?
At first, I was thinking, I don't really reread that much. But then I was like, okay, she's challenging me. And so I was looking at some of my books that I have reread and that are kind of part of my almost an annual process on occasion. And I realized, I reread more than I thought. Mm-hmm. But each of them kind of for a different reason. So what I came up with, my reasons personally would be sometimes for comfort. Sometimes maybe I just can't stop thinking about it. There's several in the past few years because maybe a movie or a TV show was coming out and I wanted to refresh my memory of the book before it was either tainted or improved by somebody else's vision. I don't know. And then sometimes there's just characters that all of a sudden I realize I kind of miss them.
Yeah.
And I want to go back.
That's so relatable.
Yeah.
Ugh.
So what are your reasons? Because I think you reread more than I do.
I am known to reread books, and kind of all the reasons that you listed. A lot of times I'm such a mood reader, and when something hits me in my feelings, I am I can't think about anything else for a while, which is why, and we've talked about it before, I get into book slumps so much, is because a book hits so hard for me that I'm nothing can compare to that right now. And so for that, and then I decided to move on to the rest of the series. One of the books that I'll talk about today, I finally moved on. I've reread the book 3 times, and I'm finally on the second book. And I said it took me, I don't know, 10 years, but we got there. Or if I need a refresher, for that. And then I don't always retain the book. And I know you can relate to that. And so sometimes when I reread a book, I either get something new out of it, or I go, oh, what a surprise, I forgot about that. And I love those moments. And I typically want to relive that feeling that I had the first time. And usually it still hits the same almost all the time. Almost.
That's cool. I like that.
Yeah. Well, do you own any of your books that you reread?
I do own a couple. Mm-hmm. I own a couple. But when I first started working at the library, I realized how much I loved being there and watching people check stuff out. And then I thought, well, gosh, this is just collecting dust in my house. And so I actually used it as a moment to kind of clear some stuff out. And so I actually donated a ton of stuff to the library. And I'm not going to lie, like, a lot of times I'll check things out to people and I'm like, that was my book. And I get really excited. And I'm like, I hope they love it as much as I did. But I did it fully knowing that I can still check it out again later if I feel like I need to. Yeah. But there is a couple that I'm going to mention today that I own and I will never get rid of.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Do you own most of your rereads?
I actually don't own any of them.
Oh.
I used to own a copy of the one that I've actually read the most, but I moved so much growing up and, like, as an adult. I've also moved a ton that I think it just, like, got ruined in a move. And so it had to go into the book. Sad place. And then, yeah, I literally don't own any of them. Isn't that crazy?
That is interesting.
That means that I utilize my library.
We love to hear that.
I know. Okay, so let's, like, let's jump in and let's just get into the books that you like to reread. You want to start us off?
I can start us off, sure.
All right.
So my first one is one of the ones I own. It is definitely hands down the book I have read the most times in my life.
Yeah.
And it's starring Sally J. Freedman as herself by Judy Blume. And this completely falls into my comfort read category. But I think it would also have to be put with, like, characters that I just need to revisit because I can't stop thinking about them. I don't actually know how many times I've reread this book. I still have my original copy from my childhood.
I love that.
So yeah, it is also my Goodreads profile picture with a cup of coffee.
Yes.
It's that book.
Okay.
Yeah. But it's just, I don't know, there's something about, it's kind of like my child self meets my adult self. Like, every time I read this book, like, I used to feel so much for Sally, but then sometimes I read it as an adult and I feel so much for her parents or her grandma. And so, like, every time I read it, it's like whatever it is I'm seeking, I somehow manage to find in the book. And I don't know, I can't really explain it. I love Sally. Sally is my girl, and she always will be. And I know I've talked about Judy Blume before, but there is also a documentary about her that I watched maybe like a year ago, and my family ended up plopping down and watching it with me. And when it was over, they just kind of were like, oh, I get it now. And I was like, you do? Because Judy Blume's just kind of always been my hero. Mm-hmm. And after watching the documentary and how much some of her various books have affected just people, all sorts of people, and they were like, oh, I get it.
Yeah.
So,
Aww.
Yeah, so that's my first one.
I
Sally.
love that.
I love her.
Oh, my goodness.
What's your first one?
All right, well, before I jump into it, I feel like I talk about these books a lot, especially on the podcast. So I'm sorry if you're tired of hearing the same titles, but also if I have talked about them and you haven't read them, like, what are you doing? Like, if you're looking for a sign, here it is for the 100th time. All right, it's fine. It's cool. So I also am going to start with the one that I've reread the most, which is actually Little Women by last name Alcott. And I'm trying to...
Louisa May.
Yes, thank you. I have read that book like 4 or 5 times, or 4 times, and I'm getting ready to reread it again because we're actually doing it for Film Club next month. So shout out to Film Club, join us. I love it. It's comfort, it's family, it deals with loss, it deals with love, it deals with, a woman writer trying to grow up in a man's world, and back in the day. So I love it. And there's Christmas time, there's all these different seasons, and you kind of like grow up with the girls, and I just love it so much. It brings me so much joy and comfort. And all of I don't know how many movie adaptations there are of it now. They even did like a modernized one. It was terrible. Don't watch it. Like you cannot modernize that. Anyways. So yeah, literally getting ready to reread it for a 5th time. So
I told you it showed up in I'm rewatching Dawson's Creek because they just had the big Dawson's Creek reunion. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, it's been like years since I've watched that. And I just watched the episode where Joey goes to visit this college and they ask her about her favorite book. And she talks about Little Women and kind of her namesake.
Yeah.
I
just love it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Anyway, sorry. Go ahead before I start crying. Because I'm getting emotional.
Okay, well, I'll jump into my second book then. It's called The Little Prince, and I'm totally going to butcher the name, but it's Antoine de Saint-Exupery. I don't even know it's French. I have no clue how to pronounce that, but it is a book that I can never stop thinking about. It was actually required reading when I was in college.
Oh.
And I was like, why am I buying a children's book? And so I read it, and it was so interesting what I got out of it, because at the time I was in classes for like health and human services and psychology and stuff like that, and a lot of the book is kind of a reminder that like sometimes what you see is not always what's actually there, so you have to look beyond sometimes what is right in front of you. And I just was so surprised by how much it affected me. And I did actually keep the book. I've probably read it at least 4 or 5 times over the years. Yeah. And they even made like a cartoon version of it at one point. And I had watched that with my kids once just because I was like, I don't know if it's going to be any good, but I feel like I have to see it. And it was cute. Like the moral of it was still there.
Yeah.
But you know, I don't want to like give it all away, but it's just this really beautiful story, sometimes to remind ourselves as an adult that the world that we see and that we're in is very different from the world that like a child might see that they're in. And so we do have to kind of remind ourselves to like slow down and look at the big picture. And, you know, it's a great book.
Yeah. Well, I know that you've reread it at least once since you've worked at the library. So I didn't realize you'd read it that many times.
Yeah.
So fun.
All right. What's your next one?
My next one will not be a shocker to anybody. It's the Fourth Wing series by Rebecca Yarros. Dragons. We did a whole episode on dragons. I love dragons. I love this book series. I don't own this book series yet because I'm kind of waiting for all the books to come out, and then I'll see what edition I like the most.
That's true, because you don't want to end up with one of the ones where it's like this book looks this way and that one looks that, and then when you put it on the shelf, they don't match.
Right. Or like they've come out with so many different editions already, and it's only it's going to be a 5-book series. She's only written 3 of them, and the amount of editions that have come out, and I do have friends that every time a new edition comes out, they buy it. And I said, so you're rich. Okay. But it's funny because every year that a book comes out, it's what I get my sister-in-law for Christmas. So I've never bought them for myself, but I have bought them for my sister-in-law. And I also live with my sister-in-law and my brother. So guess what? Anytime I want to read it,
it's there.
I just go to her shelf. So it works out for me. But every time a book comes out, I will continue to reread all of them, even though they're gigantic books. They're so good, and I read them. I've read them so fast. I've listened to them. I physically have read them, and every time I go, I didn't get that the first or second time that I read it, and it's just like, whoa, what? And the way that sis can write. I'll say that she is phenomenal. So I love it. Read them. If you haven't, I don't know why you haven't. What are you doing? We can talk about it. Anyways, okay, sorry. I'll stop pressuring. Go ahead.
You're so funny.
Thanks.
Okay, so my next one is just a quick example of like a movie was coming out and I wanted to like refresh myself. But I also was able to get my husband to read it as well, and then we like watched the movie together. So that was like kind of a fun thing that we did. But it was The Bird Box by Josh Malerman. Did you ever read that or see the movie?
I didn't read it, but I saw the movie.
Okay.
And I've rewatched the movie.
There's some differences, but I did love both. This was probably one of the first horror books that I ever read. And so I remember being like a little leery the first time I read it, but like I will just say it kind of blew my mind. Because a big thing with this book is the suspense and the, you know, because if anyone out there has read it, it's like they're blindfolded, and so it's like the noises, which is always the worst. And,
right.
You know, because our imaginations are so much worse than reality
most
often. And I feel like this book really showcased the human condition. But yeah, I did it to prepare for the movie, and I'm actually not mad that I read it twice. I really, really enjoyed it. And it was nice to be able to have a conversation with somebody who also read it and watched the movie with me, so we could talk about the similarities and the differences, and is that how you pictured that character, and why do you think the director did this? And so that it kind of made it like a fun time. Yeah.
I did enjoy the movie.
Okay, what's your next one?
I know, this will be a shocker. Another dragon series. Eragon. Okay, or the inheritance cycle. But I've reread Eragon like 3 times.
Have you really?
I have. Okay, but the last time was so I could finally move on, which is what I said when I reread it in 2019, and I never moved on. And I can confidently say that I am currently in the middle of the second book.
Okay.
So I am finally moving on to the rest of the series. But the first book I have read 3 times. So, yeah, I read it first in high school and loved it, and then read it again in 2019/2020, and actually like didn't like it. And I think it was just the timing and all that. And so rereading it last month, I actually enjoyed it quite a bit. So I said we'll move on to the second one, and I'm enjoying it also. So it was going to be a hit or miss, and I said if I reread it for a 3rd time and don't move on, it's got to go.
Yeah, then it's just
I just have to give up.
That makes me really happy for you, though. I'm glad you're enjoying it.
I know. You know, dragons. Woo-woo.
That's cool.
What's your next one?
Okay, my next one is a nonfiction that I reread for a book club.
Yes.
So it's an author that I love, and when we started the nonfiction book club at our library, I was just sort of like, oh, maybe I'll throw this author on as an idea, and that, you know. So when it finally came around, the book I picked was Packing for Mars by Mary Roach, and I have to say, I remembered the book, but as I was reading it, there were so many things, like little bits of trivia and stories that I was like, oh man, I forgot about that. I forgot about that. And it was just as entertaining the second time around. And then I got nervous because I thought, well, what if I'm loving it and they hate it? But we had such a fun discussion, and they all really seemed to appreciate like the way that the author presented the story and like the footnotes. I know when I've talked about Mary Roach before on here, like a lot of her humor and her like normalizing for every reader is in the footnotes, and like they all read the footnotes and they were like, you were right, you know. We had a good time. But yeah, if you are interested in trying to reread something, I would actually recommend nonfiction, because sort of like you were saying, like there's so much that you're taking in that it's like you can only hold a certain amount of stuff. And like things disappear, you know. Yeah.
Oh, fun. I know. I think that one's still like kind of on the back of my list, because I went to read it and then I just didn't have time to read it when you guys did it for book club.
I think you would like her.
The next series should surprise no one. The Selection series by Kiera Cass.
We haven't mentioned it in a while.
I know. You know, it was due. Hey, you're welcome. I didn't mention Twilight. Oh, just did. Just kidding. I love this series. That's it. I still talk to people about it. And when someone discovers it for the first time and we get to talk about it, I love that for them and for me. It's like I was talking to a family that comes into the library. They also go to my church, and I ran into them at church, and she was telling me, one of the girls was telling me that she just started it, and I was like, I love this for you. Oh my goodness, this is amazing, because it's young adult. So, and it's phenomenal. I will always push people to read it. So yeah, that's literally it. I just love it. So yeah. What about you? Last one?
Yes, the last one I brought with me is really just because I love the characters. It's A Tree Grows in Brooklyn by Betty Smith. And there was something about this book the first time I read it. It really made me feel closer to my grandparents. And I think it was just like the time period. I don't I don't know a whole ton about my grandparents' childhoods. And unfortunately, they're no longer with me. So, like, I'll never be able to ask them those questions. But, like, this book, it takes place in Brooklyn, but it's the time period. And it's just this whole world. Like, I could just imagine it where I know my grandparents were born too, being, like, similar in some regards. And it really gives me just this, even though it was like sad times for some of the book, it just gave me this warm, fuzzy feeling of just feeling like a connection to my grandparents. So that book, I don't know how Betty Smith did it, but I felt such a connection to the characters, like a very strong, and I've read that one a couple times.
I love that. That's funny. I was watching a show, HBO special, that was, I think it was released in 2001, and my brother and I typically watch it like twice a year, and one of the scenes, one of the guys is like taking over. It's a military show, and he's taking over for another guy, and he hands him a book, and he's like, "Oh, what kind of book is this?" And he like says something, and he goes, "No, it's not that kind of book." And he's like, "But it's a good book." And he sits down, and it's A Tree Grows in Brooklyn.
Oh,
and I was
that's
like,
so
"Oh,"
cool.
and I thought about you, because I was like, "Oh, that's so cool." I knew that we were going to be talking about it a little bit, and I was like, "Oh,
I didn't know that."
Yeah,
that's really cool. Yeah, I've seen it come up a few times, and even if you just look up the author at some point, like, her story is also, like, her real life is very interesting, and I think there's a lot of connection between her real life and the book. So, yeah, that's cool. Do you have another one?
I do, and it's so funny because I just realized that all of my books are a series.
They are.
Yeah. The last one is the Bradford Sister series by Becky Wade, which I know that I've talked about on the podcast as well. But each book is a different sister, and it's in a small town, and it's contemporary romance, and it's such good, comfy reads. It's Hallmark in a book. Like, I love it. They deal with issues. I think one of them works at a library, so of course that one hits home. But I love it. It's a good, comfy read when I need something that if I don't want to think about anything, like, I'll go to those. So
it's perfect timing for that too, because we're getting into Hallmark season, and I know we got a bunch of listeners who love their Hallmark movies.
As they should. But yeah, and it is one of those things, and it's almost like coming back to family. Like, you're coming back to, oh, I'm just coming to check in on my family. I don't know. It's so weird, but it is what it is. So
I like that.
Well, I have one more question for you.
Sure.
And that is, what are you currently reading?
I am currently reading a cozy fantasy. It's Bookshops and Bonedust by Travis Baldree. And I think I might have mentioned his other book on the podcast like a while back when I read that one. But it's really sweet. It's definitely like cozy fantasy, so it's not like so super out there that it's hard to follow, but there are really fun characters. I love the backdrop, the town that it takes place in, and it's realistic enough for me personally to like picture things without having to like work too hard. So, I still get to use my imagination, but I'm not like stressed out. And I did also find out he has a new book that's going to be part of this series as well that is coming out this month. So like the one I read first, I think was number 1, and then Bookshops and Bonedust is a prequel.
Oh, okay.
But then I think the new one might come after. I'm not 100% sure how it falls, so I have to look into how he did that.
Yeah.
But if you're interested, it's a great series. I'm really enjoying it.
Look at you coming into your fantasy era.
I know.
Like, I know it's like kind of realistic fantasy for you, but like you're becoming a fantasy girly.
I know my limits.
That's real. That's true.
What are you reading?
I am currently reading The Strawberry Patch Pancake House by Laurie Gilmore. And I've mentioned the series as well. Look at me with all my series. I've mentioned it before, but it's the Dream Harbor series, and it's number 4. And I got number 5 waiting for me in the queue. So it's a good comfort. It's great to read November around holidays and things like that. So it's, again, one of those ones of like, let me go back to check in on my family and my friends. That's what it's giving. So, and it's, someone compared it to it is like Gilmore Girls, but a little spicier. Okay. So it gives off like that kind of that small town feel where everyone's in your business and all trying to intervene, and it's a fun time, and I enjoy the series a lot.
That's cute.
It's
Good.
not like mind blowing, but it's good comfort.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Well, we'd love to hear if you guys like to reread anything, what it is that you reread. Do you stick to standalone books or do you stick to series more? We want to know. And we want to know what you're currently reading because that's just a ton of fun. So you can find us on Facebook, you can find us on Instagram, or you can email us at themulberrylibrary@gmail.com and you can share all those fun facts with us. So with that,
Happy reading, Mulberry.